Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new German Tier 8 medium tank, which is very like a light tank, the Kampfpanzer 07 RH. It's a really good tank. I have really enjoyed playing it. It's almost like a new age CDC, maybe? Probably is a way of describing it. I don't know, it's obviously got more armour than a CDC, because that's made of splitting Kleenex, but it still doesn't really have more armour. So it's not like a CDC where it'll get penned by HE really easily, but it will get penned by everything very, very easily, right? It basically doesn't have any armour. In lieu of that, you have a really great top speed at 65 kilometers an hour, a fantastic gun with great DPM, and really good camo. So why I say this is more like a light tank than a medium tank is that it plays a hell of a lot more like a light tank. You play quite aggressive scouting, you can flank and spank really, really well with this tank, and when you catch someone out, you shred them so fast, and it's just a very, very nice tank to play. If you like light tanks, you'll probably like this tank a hell of a lot. If you don't like light tanks, you don't like tanks that have no armour, this is probably not the one for you. Because, yeah, it doesn't have any armour, it relies a hell of a lot on its speed and your positioning and use of the fantastic DPM on this tank. I really enjoy it, like I say, because I kind of like that playstyle at times, although I am a fan of more armour and alpha for the most part, but I still think this is a pretty damn nice tank to play. So, without ado, let's get into the old Statarooskies, and here we are. 700 horsepower this tank has, with a 65 km/h top speed and a 25 km/h reverse speed. By the way, that is that's really quick. It does reverse very, very fast, and it will help you get out of dodge really if you need to pull back around a corner pretty easily. And I say 65 km/h top speed is also absolutely fantastic for a medium tank. With a 23.33 horsepower per ton, you hit this top speed really easily. Yeah, you don't need to do much to be able to hit 65 kilometers an hour. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put a traction system on and you would get to 71 kilometers an hour, but realistically, I think you want to focus on making the DPM and the view range just that little bit nicer, as well as the camo, to be able to scout, essentially, with this tank. You've got 12% fire chance, which is decent, I think, for a fire chance. A lot of fire chances between 10 and 20%, so that's fine. You've got 1,350 horsepower, hit points. Read the signs. Hit points. You've got 1,350 hit points, which is pretty decent for a Tier 8 medium tank. Around that standard mark, to be fair. You've got a 55 degree a second hull rotation speed, which is really quick. It turns on a sixpence. It's, yeah, pretty damn mobile and agile, which is nice. You've got a 2.2 soft terrain resistance, which isn't the best. But then you've got a 0.7 on medium and a 0.5 on firm, which is absolutely fantastic. Which means, realistically, you're not going to take off-road driving. Even though that's not the best, these two are absolutely fantastic. And with your horsepower and stuff, you're going to hit that anyway. So you don't really need to help the terrain resistances too much on this tank. 333, sorry, meters of concealment when still. And, yeah, that's pretty damn solid. You get it down to, like, 280 something with a crew and a camo net, which makes you absolutely damn stealthy, and if you put silent driving on, you can knock this down really well as well. You've got 390 meters view range, which is great, and with optics and situational awareness, born leader, food, etc., you're going to get that up to a really solid number, which will help you in that scouting department, which is really nice. You've got a 50 degree a second turret rotation speed, which is actually slower than your tracks, so just something to bear in mind, that if you are turning the opposite way to where you're trying to keep your turret going, it's not going to keep up and it's going to start jolting the other way. So just be very, very wary of that, that if you're trying to keep the turret on target while turning a different way to where the turret is facing, yeah, your turret's not going to keep up. You've got a 1.75 meters accuracy during rotation, which is okay. It's not the worst, it's not the best. You'll knock that down with snapshot and stuff like that and steady aim, which will make that pretty decent. You've got 15 degrees of elevation, which is okay. 9 degrees of gun depression, which is really nice. It's not quite 10 degrees or 12 degrees, etc., which is absolutely fantastic. Still, 9 degrees is still brilliant, to be fair. That is still in the fantastic range, right? 9 degrees of gun depression will really help you use ridge lines to good effect and try and get hull down. Naturally, this thing doesn't have turret armour, so being hull down doesn't really help you too much if you're spotted, but it limits the target for which people have to shoot at, right? You've got a 5.2 second reload with 200 alpha, which this 5.2 second reload is really nice. You get it down to about 3.8 seconds, I believe, with the rammer and all the crew skills, which is really, really damn nice. And yeah, like I say, it eviscerates tanks. It absolutely destroys them. If you catch them out, you just wreck them with your DPM. Now, 200 damage isn't the highest. Naturally, there's a lot of tanks that obviously have like 240 when they're having a 90mm, so 200 is a bit low. And you do roll for like 170, 180 a lot, and then sometimes your high rolls are only like 210, 220, etc. Which, yeah, it does feel a little bit underwhelming at times, especially against tier 10s. But with the rate of fire and how fast it fires, you don't really feel it that badly, right? If this was a lot slower on its reload, you'd be thinking, oh, 200 alpha is terrible, right? But it's not too bad. 2.3k base DPM is, yeah, it's really nice. You got a 0.35 accuracy, which again is on that end of, it's in the middle, right? When you get to 0.35 accuracy, it's at that point where you're thinking, I might run vert stabs, I might not. Because that's the accuracy where it's still good, but it's not great, but it's not bad. So you just got to feel it in the tank when you're playing it yourself and feel how the gun handles as to whether you will run vert stabs or not. I don't run vert stabs because, well, I feel like the gun handling's good enough. When I tried it, I was like, yeah, this is fine. I'd rather focus on other stuff. You do have a 3.18 accuracy during movement, by the way, which is absolutely atrocious. And you'll have to have run and gun to make that better, and that's where vert stabs might be a little bit nicer. But again, I'd rather focus on other stuff. That is dreadful, but at the same time, when playing it, it doesn't actually bloom out that much, as you'd expect with that sort of accuracy during movement. And again, you knock that down quite a lot with the crew skills and food and stuff. So it's something you can negate if you want to. You've also got and this is one of the reasons why it doesn't feel that terrible when it blooms out, to be fair. 1.7 seconds aim time is absolutely incredible. And the gun does get aimed in very, very, very fast. And yeah, you'll have no problems with having a slow aim time at all when trying to shoot people. You've got AP, Heat, and HE, which has a 205 pen on the AP, 255 on the Heat, and 90mm on the HE. The HE pen's really nice because that means you're going to pen quite a lot of weakly armoured targets. I have caught myself out trying to do this, trying to switch to it, but at the same time, it's a nice asset to have. When you face those lightly armoured targets, like light tanks, you can just go, oh, that light tank's YOLOing in. Load the HE, start slapping them for 320 alpha, which is a big upgrade on your DPM, and trust me, that makes a massive difference when trying to destroy those light tanks, and artillery too. So that's a nice thing to have. The 205 standard pen on the AP is a little bit low in this day and age for medium tanks, but let's say you are a pseudo light tank, to be honest, so that's not that bad. And 255 Heat is good enough to pen most things you're going to face. You're only really going to struggle when you come in against the super heavy tanks that you face at tier 10, which hopefully you're not going to see too much, pretty much. You have a 962 max speed on the AP, which is pretty slow. 870 on the Heat, which again is not the fastest, and 853 on the HE, which is again not great. It's pretty slow shell velocity, because once you're hitting that 1,000 and plus, that's where it's starting to feel nicer. It's not the slowest, obviously. It's not like 800 meters a second or 700 meters a second like the Heat and the HE. It's still good enough, but you just got to make sure that you lead your targets well with this gun, because when you're firing at distance, it will feel a little bit. You'll feel it when you're playing, that it'll be like, oh, that's a little, wow, I thought I'd hit that shot on them at like 400 meters, and it just doesn't work like that. So bear that in mind. It does have a 50% silver bonus, which is pretty substandard. Well, it's pretty standard. Sorry, not substandard. It's pretty standard for a tier 8 medium tank. That's generally what they have. But yeah, that's the stats for the Kampfpanzer 07 RH. Like I say, it's pretty damn solid in terms of its stats. The DPM and the camo is fantastic, and if you can use that to good effect, you can have a great time. In terms of the armour, as you can see, 115 on that upper and lower plate. You've got 90mm or 80mm on the turret front with about 10 or 15mm of spaced armour. So when you're shooting at these things, and if you're firing HE, a lot of the time you might not go through the turret. You might just splash the turret when firing HE. Depends on how high your pen is, but the HE rounds might just, explode on the 25mm of spaced armour it has on that turret. So if you shoot with HE at this thing, or higher pen HE, shoot the hull. Try to avoid the turret, or hit the turret right on top, because yeah, it's got that little bar on top that's 80mm as well. So that's just something to bear in mind with the armour when you're shooting at this tank. And like I say, when you're playing this tank, it's got no armour whatsoever. You can, I mean, if you wanted to, you could try and side scrape, but I wouldn't put yourself in that sort of situation. But if it's something you have to try and do to try and ricochet a shot from sort of guns and stuff, 75mm of armour will help you with the side scraping aspect if you really, really desperately have to. So let's see what we put in terms of a crew in this tank. Well, I've been hiding it in the old Dread Dozer, I think, wherever it didn't give me the Dread Dozer crew, did it? No, it gave me that crew. There we go. There's the Dread Dozer. So we'll put it in the Kampfpanzer 07 RH, and here we are. So, in terms of a crew on the old Kampfpanzer, the Kampfpanzer, we run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Camouflage Expertise, Silent Driving, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun. Run these gun perks to make this gun as good as possible, because like I say, 0.35 accuracy isn't the best, and it's not the worst either, I'm not saying anything like that, but I do want to make it as good as humanly possible for when I'm firing, and obviously the accuracy during movement is also pretty terrible, so I want to make just everything I can to make that gun better without having to use vert stabs. Silent driving, because it decreases the effect on movement on the camo by 55%. Like I say, because you will play this a lot more like a light tank than you will any other tank. You want to try and negate your movement camo as much as possible, or make your camo better while moving as much as possible, like light tanks have, you know, because they have full camo while moving and stationary. And 10% camo while... just 10% better camo is always nice, right? Situational awareness, obviously, to make your view range better, and you're always going to take these 3 perks. Always, 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 pretty much. I mean, to be fair, you're always taking these 4, no matter what, or these 5. This little triangle, this little right angle here, you're always taking these 5 perks. On whatever tank you are going to take these 5, pretty much. So, now it's got that in, let's see what equipment we put on the tank. Well, I run rammer, camo net, and optics. Like I say, camo net to make the camo as good as humanly possible, rammer to make the DPM as good as possible, and optics to make my view range as good as I can. I mean, 436 meters view range so far without the food, that's nice. Let's put the food on. And you can see we get up to 499 meters view range. Well, that's why food's so good as well, and then it gets even better when you actually boost in the game itself. So, yeah, that's what I run in terms of equipment and a commander. Let's have a quick look at the stats of the tank with its fully pimped out. So, as you can see, we've got some slightly better terrain resistances. We've not really done too much to try and affect that, but you can see it gets a little bit better with things like Born Leader, etc. 499 meters view range, like I say, nearly 500 meters view range. You're pushing way over that if you boost with food. 282 meters concealment is fantastic. 291 on the move, which is why we run silent driving. That makes your camo really good. Makes you more light tankish. In terms of your turret rotation speed, like I say, you've gone up to 54% because of having all the crew skills and etc. You go from what, 1.7 accuracy during movement, or during rotation, sorry, to 1.16 accuracy during rotation, which is a hell of a lot better than it was. You've got a 2.27 instead of 3.18 on the accuracy during movement, which again is a hell of a lot better, and it makes a massive difference. This is without vert stabs. If we put vert stabs on, these would get even lower, but like I said, the gun performance is just really nice even without the vert stabs. You got a 1.57 aim time as well, which again is absolutely incredible. 0.28 accuracy, which is damn accurate and nice. You get up to 3.1k base DPM, fully pimped DPM. If you were to say sub out optics for vents, that would get even better with that 3.79 second reload. It's really, really quick how fast this tank fires, and it's really quite nice for that, pretty much. Yeah, and on the whole, the Kampfpanzer 07 RH is a really solid tank. I really enjoy it. Is it worth it? Well, I think only you can decide whether it's worth it or not, to be perfectly honest. I do think it's a solid tank. If you like light tanks, you will probably like this tank a hell of a lot. I find it really enjoyable to play, and I think a lot of people probably will too. So, as always, everybody, I will now send you over to the replays where you can make your own mind up and see how it plays, see how effective it can be in certain situations, and just how much it shreds, because it really does shred. So, as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll send you to the replays. So here we are on the replays with the Kampfpanzer 07 RH. And this first game, we're bottom tier. These first 2 games are going to be the more average games that I've had in the tank. And then the last 2 will be pretty damn good games in it. And they really show off what this tank can do. So this first game, we're on Karelia. And I'm going to push quite aggressively. I'm going to play, like I say, like a light tank. I'm going to push quite aggressively, go try and spot their team, and see if we can get some flanking shots in with this ridiculously good gun. And what I'm trying to do is push up to the rock at like B4, because I can take cover behind that rock, and I can spot the people crossing the one line, and we'll know what's going that way. Generally, not that much goes this way, so it's like the hope that maybe 1 or 2 things come this way. We've got like 5 people here, maybe we can isolate them. We end up spotting a machine and a manticore, and it's like, well, okay, I'm just going to get a shot into the manticore, and of course, the manticore just smashes on the move easily enough, because that's just what light tanks do, right? We do get one in return, but realistically, bad trade, because he does get 400 alpha into us, and we only get 194 into him, sorry. But I'm going to try and poke out again, and see if I can spot anything else crossing. So far, I thought I would have spotted something, because only this machine and the manticore so far has been spotted. And my guys are starting to go in. He's fired 2 so far, and he's actually just dropping his clip 3, and he's fired 4. And I'm thinking, you know what? Well, I've just spotted these guys that are slow to get here, but I think, okay, I'm going to go in on this machine with my team. And then the Manticore appears. It's like, oh god, Mr. Manticore, bad timing. Okay, hello. Fortunately enough, I'm safe from the guys behind, but we're just going to use our good DPM here to try and wipe out this Manticore. So as we do it, we end up aiming a little bit too low, and light tank tracks be light tank tracks, but fortunately enough, the PTA ends up shutting down the Manticore. We're just going to duck, dodge, dip, dive, and dodge to try and keep away from this KV-4 so he doesn't shut us down. Hopefully not got the big gun. And we're just going to push back to where we were. So, handbrake turn back in here so that we're safe. And we're going to see if we can try and put some shots again into this KV-4 as he crosses. So we're getting a nice one into this back end of him there. And he just gets out of the way of our gun, which is decent for him. But poke out again, it's like, oh god, that guy's actually come back out for a shot at me. He's ignoring the medium tank that's pushed into him. And, yeah, he's actually pushed on now, though, so we're alright. So I'm going to see if I can hopefully get a shot into this Jagdpanther 2, and the Jagdpanther 2 just obliges by driving out for us, which is nice. We're up to 1700 damage with 414 assistance, and I did notice on the map at that moment that there was a medium right in the centre pushing up, and it was like, okay, that's an odd place, but I can actually farm that without getting spotted from over here. And unfortunately, we ended up bouncing on the Pantera, but we do get a nice shot in, and we're just going to try and help our guys that are trying to win the hill. Because this Pantera has gone really deep in, but from where he is, we can just keep putting shots in. And by shooting him, it's forced him to push quite aggressively into our team, which will end up not being very good for him, especially against the 780. And I thought I'd just sit here for a second, see if there's anything gets spotted up that's attacking those guys on top of the hill. But apart from the Pantera, nothing else is getting lit up. And I decided, okay, my team's pushed past the KV-4 now. They've killed that guy at D1. Let's go see if we can try and, again, be a light tank, try and get up to their base and spot it, get some assistance that way. And if there's anything over there, we can get some flanking shots. And if not, if they're all over at JK789, then we can actually get behind them and start, again, using the tank to flank and spank like it should be. Get the flanking shots in to shut them and get as much damage as possible. We actually end up spotting the AVRE as we're coming in, or should I say the AVRE ends up getting spotted, either way. But he's focusing on my team because obviously he's spotted all the other guys going the other way, and therefore he's just distracted. So we're just going to use that distraction to get up behind him and start putting shots in. The first shot we took to try and track him only damaged his tracks, but then someone else did take his tracks off, and we're just going to farm this guy, which is, it's just exactly where you want to be. In a position where you're flanked up behind someone, and then pummeling the shots in without really getting anything in return. Now, I know the artillery is somewhere over here, and I'm thinking maybe he's at K1, and I just can't see him. So let's try and see if we can get up behind the 50 TP and this medium tank, trying to get some shots into them. So we get up behind the 50 TP, get a nice shot into him, and it's like, oh god, that's an artillery, okay. And fortunately enough, he is sitting the other way. So we're just going to put the shot in to finish this guy off, hopefully, and we do finish him off. And try and swivel around to get a shot into the 50 TP, but can't quite get there to get the shot into him. But we do finish the game with a really nice total for the Kampfpanzer 07RH in a tier 10 game. We finished with the epic victory, 2 kills, 3.5k damage. 527 assistance, not too much because we didn't really get, well, everyone was quite close to what we were spotting. The second class, 1679 base XP, a nice game for the Kampfpanzer. And yeah, that game really showed just what the tank can do in terms of its mobility, its camo, you know, being able to just get up aggressively to spot. And just, yeah, well, really how good the mobility is, because the mobility is absolutely fantastic on this tank. And, yeah, you can get yourself into good flanking positions and just shred people with the DPM. So we're on to the second game. And this second game, again, we're bottom tier, and we are on Arctic Region. Arctic Region Assault. Now, Assault is a funny version of Arctic Region. They spawn in the north, we spawn in the south. I'm not a fan of these spawns at all, to be honest. I think it's pretty dreadful balancing on the spawns. But what can we do? We're in this map. So from the south, attacking, we're going to take an aggressive position that is just way too strong. It's so strong a position that if someone with good camo or decent turret armor or something like that takes it, you can stop the entire 1-2 flank completely, because they won't spot you. You can keep pummeling shots in. There's not much they can do to affect you unless they start blind firing. But there's so many bushes you can choose from to go sit in that is quite difficult and can be quite timely and costly in terms of time, which, you know, naturally means that your team loses. And as you can see with the Kampfpanzer, with its camo here, we're just starting to pummel shots into the Waffle E100. I load HE because, well, 90mm a pen, really good pen and damage. We're going to just start putting them into the Waffle. And we were not getting spotted, but the Centurion actually pushed into a point where he's just where the bushes don't cover me. But we're just going to keep trying to put some snapshots into this Waffle with HE, because while we've got the opportunity to do it, why not? But the Waffle gets unspotted, so it's like, okay, you know what, let's start putting some shots into the AVRE. We actually don't get spotted there, which is quite surprising, but yeah, this is where muffled shot might be quite nice, because we can start using these bushes and not getting spotted too much while we're firing, or should I say reducing the effect that firing has on our camo. But we don't have that. We only have silent driving to make it more light tankish, but like I said, the gun isn't the best in the universe, so I do want to make it better. We poke into the bush to spot the Waffle, which ends up happening, and yeah, we reloaded Heichi to see if we could get a shot into him. We wouldn't have even got a shot into him with AP, to be honest. But we're just going to keep trying to poke into spots to try and see if we can spot the one line. And we end up spotting a E4, which we get a nice shot into his side. We've just got to play very cautiously, naturally, because again, we don't have any armour. A Jagdpanzer, an E4, an AVRE are just going to absolutely yeet us, delete us. And we don't want that. So we're being very careful, keeping these guys lit, because I do have a good amount of people trying to shoot. Once again, the Waffle poked out, and I was like, oh, I want to get this Waffle, HE shells into this Waffle. Realistically, I probably should have just shot AP at him, and we'd have had a good time. I load the heat to see if I can go through this Jagdpanzer. He's at a very awkward angle, though, so the likelihood of going through that Jagdpanzer at this angle is, yeah, very slim. But we are spotting him up, which means we do get the assistance for it. But we start to get detected, and it's like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not sitting here in front of a Waffle or a AVRE who's looking at me and taking all that hit. But we do spot the Waffle. Unfortunately, our shot misses because we were going down on the ridgeline. But he got blapped for over 1,000, and we got all the assistance on that guy, and we get to finish off the Waffle E100. And once again, we're going to poke up to see if we can spot the E4. We're only seeing the AVRE. Naturally, the Waffle's gone now. The Jagdpanzer's dead. And I'm thinking, okay. Do I want to still be here in this position? Well, this AVRE is not quite giving me the shot yet, but oh, wow, he does actually give me a shot there. And I'm thinking, well, he's going to keep poking up like that, and maybe giving me a shot, so we'll see if he keeps being silly and giving me that side shot. We'll do try and pop a blind shot, see if we can actually hit the E4, but I think we saw a shell tracer fly from the other side of the rock, which says he's there. And then the heavy tank in the middle gets spotted up, and it's like, oh, that's a machine. Okay, this is an odd thing for a machine to do. He just runs into the middle of, like, four tanks. And we managed to get the shot just into the roof of that machine as he goes over the edge. And that guy's gone. I'm not quite sure what that guy was thinking, but okay, whatever. And he's gone, man. We're up to 2k damage with 1,667 assistance. And this is where, this is where I think, okay, I want to change my position, right? Because my position isn't working anymore. The AVRE isn't giving me the shots. Let's poke forward for my team and see if we can spot up the E4 or anything like that. We end up spotting the E4, and look, we've got people at A5. This is why I really wanted to push up, because I thought, hey, my team's coming round, right? And they might start getting shots at people. We spot the E4, he gets the Jagdpanzer, and we get a hell of a lot of assistance for it. The Aguila from earlier on is in a really funky spot. We managed to shut him down. The Centurion AVRE's gone, which means there's only one tank left, and it's the Manticore. It's another Manticore. And we're going to just load HE, because again, if we can try and catch a shot into the back of the Manticore with HE, we can roll for like 320, that'd be nice. Kind of risky, because obviously the Manticore has loads of random angles, and we might just not pen it in general, which would be awkward. But it's fine, I'm full health, whatever. I might take a hit to try and make sure I actually hit the guy. He's clearly gone up on top of the ridgeline, so I'm just going to go left on top of the ridgeline myself. He crashes into a rock. And we hit his gun, so we only do 86 damage, which naturally, if we actually, to be honest, if we'd fired AP, we'd have only damaged his gun, not done any damage whatsoever. So we'll take it. We're finished with the epic victory. 3 kills, 2.1k damage, 3.4k assistance. The leather shillelaghs for killing 2 tanks 2 tiers higher, which clearly is tier 10. The second class, or whatever, 1685 base XP, 2.1k damage, 3.4k assistance, 3 kills. Again, another nice game for the Kampfpanzer 07 RH in a bottom tier matchup, which is pretty decent. So we're on to the second replay, the third replay, which is the first ace that I had in the tank. And we're pretty nicely top tier, which is always a great time. And this thing will excel when it's top tier, because there'll be a lot less tanks that will deal with it spotting-wise. There'll be a lot of tanks that can instantly spot it, like at tier 10. There's a lot of tanks that have 420, 410, 400 metres view range. There's a lot less at tier 8. Obviously, there's a lot more that have that 360, 370, 380 metres view range. And if people don't kit out for spotting, then they might actually struggle to see you, which is decent. That makes your camo great. Then you've also got the thing that 205 pen is going to go through most things at tier 8, which is great. And you've got the fantastic mobility, the incredible DPM, which shreds things at tier 8, because obviously it's more meaningful at tier 8 with the low alpha, because there's not as many things that have really high hit point pools, so therefore it's not like shooting an E100 with 2.8k HP or whatever, and you just feel like you're tickling them. When you're actually starting to smash people with the DPM, you're really hurting them, right? So we've pushed to this position at A5, 6 on Vineyards. It's Vineyards. And we've managed to catch this T-32 out. We get a nice shot through the side of his turret. Quite surprised that I actually penned the side of a T-32 turret. And we get a nice shot again through the side of him. We're up to 603 damage so far. There's a light tank yelling about in the middle. And I think, you know what? I'm going to help my light tank out. Because that T-32 now is going to be hull down in that position. I don't want to deal with a hull down T-32 because that will hurt. And we get a shot into the VK2801 and finish him off. Just like that. In the blink of an eye. Because, like I said, the DPM on this tank is fantastic. It fires so quickly that you just shred them. Now we've got a Cromwell Berlin. And we get a nice shot into the back of him. And he's, well, we end up tracking him, which is good. And we try and track him again. But it doesn't happen. Because we don't have the highest module damage in the universe. We're not an instant track. That guy had yellow tracks already with the first shot, so it took them off. So when he'd repaired them and got rid of the yellow tracks, that meant that we couldn't actually track him first time. Now the T-32's gone, because the equalizer shuts him down, I'm going to push aggressively to the little hill over here and try and get flanking shots on the T-25/2. I actually thought I spotted that VK there, but I didn't get any spotting for it, apparently, so we'll stick with it. And, yeah, here we are in the flanking position on the T-25/2. We get a nice shot into his back end there, and he's trying to avoid us. I'm just trying to feather out the target, but I can't quite see it. And, again, it's trying to find that position where there's a crack in the buildings to get a shot at this guy, but it's not quite happening. He ends up going down low, and we can't quite get the shot in to finish him off. But there is a Citadel, and it's like, well, hello, Mr. Citadel. Nice shot through him there. We're spotting him as well, which means we're getting assistance. Unfortunately, we ricochet off the Citadel. But we get unspotted. And we fire, and we don't get spotted. This is where I'm saying the camo is really good, because especially against those tanks that have lower view range, you're just not going to get spotted, and you can farm to your heart's content, which is great. And of course, the T-25/2 on the move hits us. He's terrible accuracy on the move, but yeah, naturally, that's just what happens. We are fairly, while we're fairly short in length, we're actually quite fat in width. So, you know, we're not the not the hardest to miss. We're not like a zooming round small little light tank. So if people do try and snapshot you, the likelihood is they're probably going to hit you if you're stationary, because, you know, you're a fairly large target to hit. So it's just something you've got to be careful of. If people look like they're going to snap onto you, maybe pull back and not take the hit, really. But yeah, here we are. We're going to try and be a light tank. And that's because they've still got a lot of tanks left. But we've taken the whole northern end of the map, so which means they're all going to be chilling on this hill. So what I'm trying to do is spot the hill for my people behind me, and then they can feed me assistance. We're up to 2.1k damage with 1,100 assistance so far. And yeah, I just want to push this game as hard as it can go. We've got the food boosting. We do spot the Dragon again, and then we end up spotting a T28 Pro and a medium tank. And I'm thinking, people, come on, let's pummel them. We don't actually get any assistance on the Trinity there, even though I think I spotted it, maybe. Oh, there we go. We actually get a little bit there on him, finally. We get a nice shot into his back end, though, and oh, dear. I don't think he was quick enough to get over the gap in that bridge, and the Trinity goes bye-bye. Oh, dear. That didn't go well for that guy. So now we're going to move up. Now we're not spotted. Now the artillery's gone from the left-hand side. We're going to move up to see if we can try and spot, again, the other stuff over here. We'll get up behind this T28 prototype, which we're going to start trying to put some shots into, which we get 2 nice shots into there. And we're also getting assistance on him, which is nice, and he's gone, just like that. We get up to 2.2k assistance. We're not seeing the Dragon, though, and we end up spotting a Comet, or we don't spot the Comet, but the Comet gets spotted on the bridge. It's actually a Cromet by the looks of it from behind. And we get a nice shot into his back end. We actually get onto this ridge here, which can save us from the Dragon. And that's just how good the camo is on the ISU 152 if you run a camo crew and the camo net. I could not see that guy at whatever that is, 200 meters where he is. Couldn't see him. And then he takes pretty much all of my hit points that I needed to try and deal with this Dragon. Now it makes it a little bit awkward for fighting this Dragon, because this Dragon can now just snapshot me and I will die. I don't have the hit points to take the shot, so I just have to be very, very careful. But again, the camo on this tank is utter filth, and we aren't getting spotted by this Dragon at this distance unless we fire and he pulls back all the way around the house. So we're just waiting to get unspotted again so that we can start putting shots into him. And, well, he's disappeared. I can't quite see him. I tried to blind fire around the house, but ended up just aiming a little bit too low and hitting the ground. He pokes round again. We get a nice shot into him there, and he's fired, which means that I can go round, make sure of the shell, and shut him down. Or maybe I'll just shoot the building, because that's a thing. But we do, you know, we do get to finish him off, which is decent. We're up to 4.5k damage, 2.4k assistance. There's 3 tanks left and artillery. We know where the RT is because he's just been firing. And while I was spotted, in case he was watching, I was making it look like I was going over that hill. But I'm actually going round the back of the hill, so maybe I could catch behind him. But he's disappeared. He's run away because that's what artillery do. He must have been paying attention to the map. And it's like, where's this guy gone? And we just spot him just as we're going. And it is a Crusader SP, so he's actually faster going backwards. So his gun is ready to shoot me instantly. But fortunately enough for me, he misses, and we get to shut him down. And there's only 1 tank left. It's a Cromwell somewhere over here. He's actually in the distance at C5, and he ends up getting shut down by the Carnarvon Action 10. It was Cromwell beating him earlier. But we finished the game with a really nice total for the Kampfpanzer 07RH. 5 kills, 5.2k damage, 2.4k assistance, ace tanker, Confederate, high caliber, 2,337 base XP. A really great game for the Kampfpanzer 07RH, which showed off just how great it is, really, to be honest. Because it's got the good mobility, the great camo, that DPM that shreds, and if you use it to good effect, you can get some really, really big scores. Because it's just how fast it racks up damage. Because it's like, in the blink of an eye, you've done 2k damage. And especially if you go in on a tank, in the blink of an eye, they've got no hit points. They think, oh, I'll be fine, and then you just start shredding. Like that Dragon, for every shot that Dragon fires, we can fire like 2 to 3 shots. So naturally, you know, for every shot he fires, he's doing... Say he fires 2 shots, he's done 800 damage, right? Unless he's firing Hessian, which he's done nearly 1,000. But if he fires once and misses, and say we get the first shot off at the same time, we can then do another, probably the same amount of damage, 800 damage in that split second. And obviously, every shot we're firing at him, we have a chance of damaging stuff like the Armour axe and guns and turrets, etc., etc., which makes it harder for them to fight back against us. And yeah, if you go in on, especially if you're going on autoloaders, if an autoloader gets going and fires all its shells, you just know that you can go in and shred them. For the most part, get rid of all their HP before they reload, which is really nice. And especially if you're going in against tanks that have got no armor, sorry, you can just load the HE with 90mm of pen for 320, and again, you start absolutely smashing them. Because like that first game on Corellia, I was going to go in on that machine. I was actually going to load HE because I can pen the back end of a machine with HE, even his side with HE, and I would have done significantly more damage, lots more module damage, etc. So anyway, we're on this fourth and final game of the video. Well done if you've stuck it out this long. And we're on this map, which is Thiepval Ridge. And we've come over here to this hill, pushed aggressively to it, using our great mobility, and we're going to try and spot out their base. But what we've found is a standard B that's got to this point, and then gone AFK. Which is great for me, because I get a free farm and I can stay safe. But really annoying, because that means I can't actually poke up and spot anything, because he's constantly spotting me. So we've damaged his ammo rack, look, and I'm trying, from the first shot I fired at this guy, I'm trying to damage his ammo rack. But this AVRE is like, no, I want you. And I don't want anything that AVRE is selling. That is just, you don't want anything an AVRE is selling at all, do you? Yeah, we managed to get 2 nice shots into the standard B, but we've low-rolled a couple of shots. I was hoping to finish him off. Oh, we ricochet off his turret there. Really awkward. Now the AVRE is in a position where he could actually shoot us, which is really annoying, because that standard B would have been great to get rid of, so I could actually start poking up without getting spotted. But the standard B has actually come back. But we load the HE because the AVRE's fired, he's pulled all the way back like the standard B, and the Batchet 1555 has actually got spotted. So while he's clearly looking at someone to fire, we load the HE to get the shots in, and unfortunately that shot just absolutely whiffs it, and yeah, he gets away. That's what I say, that's where the HE is really great. When you start shredding those artillery like that, it's wonderful. Now we've got the back end of this Bellerophon who's trying to run away, the Centurion Mark 5-1. And we are trying to get shots into him, but he gets away. We finish off the standard B from earlier, though, which is nice because they are focusing on the guys down below. We have had the light tank and medium tank that have made that push, which distracted them. But I don't really want to take the attentions of either the 113 or the AVRE. I was just looking for a shot at the Panther 2 over there, but the IS-7 ends up finishing him off. We're up to 2.7k damage, and I'm thinking, right, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and flank round to get some side shots into the Centurion AVRE. And hopefully sort of get rid of this guy for my team, because one Centurion AVRE is enough to stop a whole flank, because we all know how toxic they are to fight against, and people don't really like taking hits from them, so they will just sit around the corner and not take a hit whatsoever, and that just stalls an entire flank. So what we're going to try and do is try and get round to get shots in. We know the Bellerophon from over in the distance is gone. There's nothing over on their camper hills that can shoot me, so if I try and get a good flanking position here to get some shots in, we might be okay. There's an AVRE in front of me, my team, and then another AVRE appears and shoots him, and I'm like, oh no, that AVRE is there. Oh no, this is awkward. I don't like this. We've got to turn around and get away. In trying to flank the other AVRE, it ended up putting myself in a very, very perilous position. But fortunately enough, he ends up getting set on fire and killed, which is nice. And we're just going to try and get away from the other guys that were behind me, like the T-54, because again, they will do very well against me, because they've got obviously really good guns, good DPM, they're a higher tier, I've got no armour, so we need to try and get into a better flanking position to be able to use my DPM. And this is where we end up seeing the Super Conqueror on our hill going towards our spawn, and try and get myself into a position to try and, again, get some flanking shots into the sides of this guy, or the other AVRE, which would be nice. But they've killed that other dude, and they are charging this way. And again, at this point, this game does not look like it's going to go too well. So I've decided, you know what, this is not going well. My CS-53's got this AVRE down. And I decided, yeah, I'm going to go and try and help this guy and get rid of this AVRE. And I heard him fire, or at least I thought I heard him fire, right? And he's damaged his ammo rack. So it's like, okay, you know what, I think this guy's reloading, and he's going to be reloading for a while. It's a little bit squeaky bum time with him looking at me like that. I'm thinking, did he fire? I don't know. I'm pretty sure I heard him fire, but with the damage ammo rack, he's going to have like a 40-second reload. So we had to chance it to get rid of that guy, because naturally he could just, again, yeet us, delete us, anyone for 1400, and that just one shot from an AVRE can change the whole tide of a game, realistically. So when I heard him fire, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go in and risk it and get rid of him. We got rid of that AVRE. Now we're up to 3.5k damage with 2 kills. And we know where the T-54 is, and we know where the artillery is. Because the artillery is somewhere in this distance along the 1 line. I'm hoping I can try and get there before he manages to sprint off. because we saw him fire earlier on, and from the where we were getting artillery detected, that's just where I thought maybe he would be from angles wise. We get a nice shot into the T-54 though, which puts him down to a one-shot for us, but that's made him know that we are in this direction, so we're going to try and get ourselves a bit higher up, get ourselves into a better position to be able to shoot him. So just as we get to a flanked position to be able to shoot him, he actually ends up ducking down low and avoiding us. But we do get to shut down the batch at 1555, and he was clearly going this way, the T-54, so we load heat because we're not guaranteed to pen him with 205 pen, but 255 will. Auto-aim the shot and shut him down before he manages to get the shot into me. So we've got 4 tanks left. They've got 2. It's still on a knife edge, realistically, because it's an AVRE and a Super Conqueror that were pretty damn healthy. So we're going to try and get again into another position to try and flank the Super Conqueror or the AVRE and just start pummeling them and getting rid of them, because that's what we realistically need to do. So what I want to do is try and get onto the little hill at G56, the one that's directly in front of us, because from there, on the elevator position, I might be able to get shots into the side of this Super Conqueror or the AVRE, which I do have to be careful of, because naturally the AVRE can one-shot me. But here we've got the side shot on the Super Conqueror. We get a nice shot into his side there. And I'm just looking at it and like, oh no, he can, no, he can actually shoot me, and he's attentive, because it's not like I shot him once and he was like, oh, I've been shot, I'll be fine, I'll keep looking at the cap. He instantly turned for us, and that's not what we want. The AVRE's pulling back because he's distracted by the guys in front of him. We tried to get a shot into the side of his turret, but didn't quite work out. Now the Super Conqueror's going. We can take a hit from this guy, so you know what? I'm going to take the risk that he might hit me. He ends up missing, but we'll just keep popping the shots in, which puts him down to a one-shot for us. But unfortunately, he just gets beyond our gun, which is really unfortunate. But yeah, you know what? He's a one-shot now. They're both one-shots. We're going to try and just close the distance. If I get under this little hill here that's in front of me, I can stay hull down and safe from this AVRE, which we just get there just in time and is looking at us. And I can also try and poke over and get some shots into the Super Conqueror. Now that AVRE gets shot, which means he's distracted. And then the Super Conqueror comes over and it's like, okay, let me get a shot into your lower plate. Okay, thanks, gun. That was really good of you, gun, to miss that shot. The AVRE is gone now, which means we're safe to use our hit points and just go through the lower plate of this Super Conqueror and shut him down. And finish the game with a really great total in a bottom tier matchup for the Kampfpanzer 07 RH. We finished with the victory, 5 kills, 4.8k damage, 429 assistance, ace tanker, the lever Schleilos, the sniper medal, 2.2k base XP. A really great game for what is actually a really solid tank, and it's a hell of a lot of fun. If you like light tanks, you will like this tank. If you're not a fan of lightly armoured tanks with high DPM, then this is probably one to avoid to you. But I do think this is a solid tank and a hell of a lot of fun to play. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!